What's up, everybody? In today's video, I'm going to be working on my tow rig again, which is a 2016 Chevy 3500 HD dually four-wheel drive with the 6.6 liter Duramax and the 6-speed Allison automatic transmission. So I say working on it again because if you didn't catch my last video, you might want to go check that out. We did the front wheel bearings / wheel hub assemblies on both sides. So I have to continue on our project here with another minor repair because I'll show you in just a moment. We are throwing a check engine code, and I picked up one of these. I don't know if you can see through the packaging. I got a genuine GM glow plug. Whilst we are doing that, we are going to do a bunch of routine maintenance, such as changing out our fuel filter. I got a genuine GM fuel filter. I also have to do a transmission fluid change and change the external transmission filter. For that, I just got the Valvoline full synthetic transmission fluid with the genuine Allison transmission filters. I have to do an oil change, and for that I got the Shell Rotella T6 full synthetic engine oil with an AC Delco genuine GM oil filter. I have to change out our air filter, and to top things off today, I'm going to be installing a NOCO battery tender / trickle charger. Much as I did on my wife's 2018 Dodge Journey, to which I do have a video on. Go ahead and give that a watch if you would. But as you can see, we got a plethora of things to do here, so let's get into it. So I'll bring you in for a close-up here, but to get at our glow plug in here and the fuel filter, we got to take out this inner wheel well. And I'm going to bring you in for a close-up to show you how we go about that. And I think to make life a little easier, I don't think it's super necessary, but I'm going to pull the front wheel off just so we have some more room to work in here. So here's why I wanted to bring you in for a close-up to show you what is holding these in. It's a whole bunch of these torque screws. Even in towards like the center part here, I believe they are a T15. And as you can see, there's got to be like 128 of them. I don't know, give or take. But that is what we got to take out to get this inner wheel well lining out to get at what we need to reach behind here. I'm going to try to make short work of it by zipping them off with the old Milwaukee Impact here, and I will reconvene with you guys after I got it out here. Okay, so I got the inner wheel well out here now, and I took the wheel off to make it easier, but I did look it up real quick, and I was mistaken. So you've seen that it was the number 2 glow plug that is throwing the engine code. This is the passenger side, which means that upon looking it up, this is the passenger side is the odds side of the cylinder firing order. So it's 1, 3, 5, 7, where the other side is 2, 4, 6, 8. So number 2 would be the frontmost on the driver's side. So I'll also have to take that wheel well out, but I'll bring you in close here to show you. I still needed this wheel well out to get at the fuel filter. So I'll bring you in close so you can see that. So you can see right up in here, I'll get the light moved. This blue thing right here is our fuel filter and water separator. That's what the black thing on the bottom here is, the water separator. But I need the wheel well out to get at this because I'll show you from the top side. You cannot reach it from the top side. So here's the engine from the top side here. This is our air intake right here. And if you can see, it's hard to see, but right below the air intake there, I'm going to go down here. This way down here is the top of our fuel filter. It's our filter housing. And in fact, right, if I can, this right here is the primer for the fuel filter. So the reason I wanted to show you what it looked like from the top side of that is because that being a 2016 Duramax, they have changed from what it used to be. As you can see here, I've also got a 2004 Duramax, and I'm going to show you just how much more accessible from the top side the fuel filter used to be. So this is the inside of that 2004 Duramax. Again, here's the air cleaner, and look at that. Plain as day. Here's the primer, here's the fuel filter, and I actually, when I bought this truck, I swapped out this whole unit that the fuel filter is attached to because it was leaking. I think it was leaking from the primer, if I remember right, so I kept losing prime, and I kept getting air in the fuel lines, and it wouldn't run. But look at how much more accessible this is. I was able to do everything from the top side. I didn't have to take the wheel well out. It was a much better design. Okay, so I'm going to get this old filter out. The water separator, the new filter does not come with a new water separator, so I'm going to take this out of the old filter after the fact. But you'll see there's a little plug here on the side. I just got to unplug that. Lickety split, and then this should just spin out kind of like an oil filter does. I don't know how tight it's going to be. I can feel it coming, so it's not too terrible. I'm sure it's going to dump some fuel around. I do got a pan below me to try and catch some of the fuel, and as you can see, I got gloves on because I really don't want diesel fuel getting all over my hands. Okay, I've got it coming out here. Oh, I'm starting to smell some diesel fuel. There we go. And just like that. So now, like I said, we just got to get this water separator out of the bottom of this filter. And I just grabbed the big crescent wrench. I don't think it should be too hard to get it out. Yeah, it's coming pretty easy. Just like that. So, got the new filter here. And the new filter does come with an O-ring kit. So, we're going to want to use our new O-rings because there is an O-ring around this water separator here. Had to go grab a pick because I couldn't get this O-ring started to come off. But just like that, there's our old O-ring. Throw it down there. Grab our new one. Now it's on. Make sure you put it in there right and you don't cross-thread it because it is just plastic threads. Okay, I got it threaded in there and tightened down with the new O-ring on there. It's a little bit of a struggle. I don't know why. I just couldn't get those threads started at first, but nonetheless, I got it. So now we got a new O-ring for the top side here. This goes right in here. So I got the filter finagled back up in here, and now I just gotta thread it back on the way it threaded off. So now I got it threaded back up in there, and I got the plug plugged back in. You know, get some light over here so you can see. There's the plug, and now we just gotta prime it. So this is gonna be hard enough to do, much less try and show you guys what I'm doing. So I will just tell you before I do it. This little bleeder screw here that I am pointing at, this little black bleeder screw, you got to crack that open and then start priming, pushing the primer up and down until you get fuel to start bubbling out of this bleeder screw. That's how you prime the fuel filter. So that is what I'm going to do next before we try firing it up to make sure we don't have any leaks in our fuel filter. And I forgot to mention, make sure on that fuel filter or any filter, when there's an O-ring, make sure you lube it up. Like on this one, I just used some diesel fuel to lube it up. So I got it running, and you can see you got no leaks. No leaks from the fuel. And I want to show up on the top side here. To get at this plunger and bleeder screw, I just disconnected the air intake there from this side and held it out of the way with a bungee. Just because it was impossible to get at that plunger without doing so. Okay guys, in the spirit of full disclosure, I wanted to tell you about the struggle I was having with that fuel filter that you didn't see on camera. This is the O-ring that came with it for the big side, not on the water separator side, but the side that goes up against the filter housing. The O-ring they sent was too big. And I fought and fought and fought to try and get this thing to seat in there. But no matter how many times I tried, it would always go like that. And part of it would be sticking out, causing it to leak fuel. So what I ended up doing was taking the O-ring off of the old filter, which I don't like doing that. But it was actually, I inspected it, cleaned it up. It was actually in good shape yet. So that is the route I had to go with. Like I said, I don't like doing that, but for this time, I guess that's what I had to do. Now, the next problem I ran into, I fired it up, as you guys seen, to make sure it wasn't leaking, and it wasn't, but I still had the air intake off. Well, the truck was all sorts of mad about that, telling me it was going into limp mode and because it couldn't get a reading from the mass airflow sensor. So what I did was I cleared the check engine light, turned it off, thinking it would reset itself after I rehooked the air intake back up so I could get a reading from the mass airflow sensor. That still didn't work. It still was all sorts of mad. So the next thing I did then was disconnected both of the negative battery cables, and I let it sit for probably about 10 minutes, rehooked them back up, started it back up, and then everything was back to ham and eggs. It was back to being okay. So I guess my advice there is if you're going to fire it back up, make sure you got the air intake back on. I tell you, I do not much care for the newer vehicles these days with all these stupid sensors and emissions crap on them. I like my old 1973 Kenworth out there with the old Caterpillar 1693 in it. There is no mass airflow sensor. There is no DEF on it. There is none of that crap. And yet it runs just fine. So I'm going to get the wheel well and wheel put back on this side, and then we will continue on with the rest of the stuff that we were doing. So we'll get this thing fired up here. Let it do its thing, and aside from fuel level low, you can see we got a check engine light on. So we'll check what that check engine light is. Okay, diagnostic codes, read codes. Glow plug 2 circuit failure. Also, glow plug 2 circuit failure. So, that is one of the issues we will be fixing. So guys, this video is turning out to be a bit of a bust for trying to show you what I'm working on. But this is the glow plug I need to do. So I'm not going to be able to have a camera in here to show you me taking it out. This is another glow plug. This is cylinder number 2, cylinder number 4. But as you can see, the intercooler pipe is in my way for actually being able to get it out, so there's no way I'll be able to get a camera in here to show you. And then as you can see, here is... But on this side, I just pulled out the inner wheel well. I left the wheel on because I don't need as much room as I did with that fuel filter on the other side. So I'm going to get that out real quick, swap it out, and then I'll show you what the old one looked like. So here's a side-by-side comparison of the two. The right side being the newer one, obviously, or the new one. But the left one, you can see it ain't that bad a shape, visually, just a little blackened on the end there. But the part I find weird is that they're exact same part number, yet the new one, if I can get this to, you can see 406 degrees Fahrenheit, and the old one says 548 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can see here, same exact part number, both GM. Everything's the same, so I don't understand why the temperature rating is different. So since I couldn't show actually pulling the glow plug in and out, I wanted to explain here a little bit. These threads here are what actually thread into the block, and then these threads up here are what hold the wire on that make the glow plug work. Now this here is a 12 millimeter, and the little nut that goes on to hold the wire on is an 8 millimeter. So if I show you here, This is the wire that makes the glow plug work, and this little nut here is an 8mm nut. So the important thing to remember is when you're taking this nut off, not to drop it, like I may or may not have, because then it becomes very hard to find. But I got this glow plug done now, so I'm going to get the wheel well back in and we'll move on to the next part. So now we just got to do our oil change. Nothing too exciting here. Anybody who's anybody has seen an oil change done a million times. So we'll just fly through this part real quick. Okay, so our oil's done draining. Put the plug back in. Tighten it down. Now I gotta change out the oil filter. Get the old one off here. I should be loose enough now to do it by hand. I like this truck because as far as the oil change goes, because this oil filter is nice and accessible. Some of them are not easy to get at. Okay, so I got oil around the gasket here. And now we can put our filter back on. Just good and snug, hand tight. Now it's time to add the oil. And mine takes 2.5 gallons, also known as 10 quarts. Now we can change out this air filter real quick. Drop the screw. Well, there ain't a ton of room here to work, I'll tell you that much. There we go. Got a little more out of my way. Cool. Looks like there was a mouse house down in there. So take back what I said. It actually looks like, I'm going to say gravel, but not gravel. It's real small, like oil dry or something, and then some leaves and a bunch of dead bugs. So there is no mouse house down there now. I looked at it closer, but I'm going to vacuum all that crap out of there, put the new filter in, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Wanted to show real quick. Got it all vacuumed out, nice and clean again. And show a little side-by-side comparison of the new versus old air filter. I may have let this one go a little bit long. Probably should have changed it sooner than I did. Now, moving on to do our transmission fluid change. Looks like our drain plug was a 15mm. Surprisingly, the fluid don't look as dirty as I was expecting it to. Our fluid's done draining now, so we can put our plug back in. Don't over tighten your plug. Now we can go ahead and change our transmission fluid filter. I see they just had an AC Delco on there. Like I said, I got the Allison transmission filter. Let that drain a little bit so it doesn't make a mess. And you see up here, this is a magnet. If you can see that right here. This is a magnet. That's got to stay in there. I'm going to take that off though and clean that up, but that's got to stay in there with the new filter. So I got the magnet cleaned back up, and don't forget to lube up your gasket. And now we can put the filter back on. Like I said, I got the Allison transmission filter. Is it actually better quality? I don't know. But the price difference wasn't a whole lot, so why not just go with it, you know? Again, we're just going to hand snug this one like we did with our oil filter on the engine. And we're good. So I'll show you real quick. I had to put the truck up on ramps to fit underneath there. So I also put the back up on jack stands to make the back the same height as the front. Therefore, keeping our pan level so I can get an accurate reading on the fluid. So let's pull our transmission dipstick out here. Now it's time to add our transmission fluid, and I fear this part is going to be painfully slow because I have to use such a small funnel because it's such a small opening. But it is what it is. So I wanted to show that on the dipstick for the transmission here, you can see there is a hot fill line and a cold fill line. And so the reason I wanted to show those levels on the dipstick is because it's significant for refilling the fluid and checking the levels. So when you empty the pan and the external filter, it's said to be about 7.4 quarts. So what I did is I added the first gallon and then about smidge over 3 more quarts out of the next gallon. And then I ran through the procedure it says to do for distributing the fluid through the valve bodies and whatnot in the transmission. So what you're supposed to do is turn the engine on, run it at a high idle, and then run through each of the gears, put it back in park, and then it even says right on the dipstick itself, check the transmission fluid with it in park at an idle. And it should be, the fluid level should be in the cross hatchings of that hot mark. So it's a little bit of monkeying around because you got to keep adding a little bit more because it's very important you don't overfill it. But I got it to right where it needs to be, right in the cross hatchings there of the hot mark, and we are good to go on our transmission fluid change. So the last thing we had to do was install our onboard trickle charger / maintainer, which you can see by the flashing light here. It's already charging. I already got it all hooked up, but I did not show the installation of this because I already have a video showing how to install this exact one on my wife's car. But the reason I wanted to show you on this one is because I had to do a little different. This is a diesel engine, which means it's got 2 batteries. I got one battery here and one battery over here. So firstly, you can see I got it zip tied here to this cross support. I got the power cord for it going through there and down here. On this battery here, which is the driver's side, I have the negative cable hooked up. So you can see here I got one of those solder heat shrink connectors so that I could extend the power to positive cable. And I got that routed along with the actual battery cable that goes over to the other battery, along here, over to there. We'll go over and show you. Over here, comes out here. I got to run along here, over to here, and then here it is here, going into, underneath this cover is there's a bus bar going to the positive. So the reason I did it this way, guys, is because that's actually how they recommend charging batteries in a vehicle that's got dual batteries. You want the negative of one battery and the positive of the other. That way it evenly charges them both. So that's why I did it that way, and why I had to extend the power cable, because it only comes with a 24-inch power cable, because generally it's meant for one battery. But I modified it so that I could charge both batteries at once. So I could not be happier with how that onboard battery charger turned out. But before I wrap up this video, I want to talk to you guys about what I actually am not happy with, and that is the fuel filter that you've seen earlier in this video. Now, admittedly, that was a while ago I filmed that. I now have a different fuel filter on there. I went to O'Reilly's and put a micro guard on there. I'm going to show you something, because I ran into a lot of issues with that fuel filter right off the bat. Now, you'll see here, the one in my left hand is the one that I took off. This one is the one that I put on. Supposedly, this one also is a genuine GM AC Delco. Could you guys see the difference in, I'm getting oil over my hands. You guys see the difference in the color here? This is dark blue, like I'd expect it to be, and this one is light blue. This one I purchased from Amazon, so I guess where the story is headed is, beware of the parts that you're buying off of Amazon. I have heard, I gotta wipe this oil off. Sorry about that. A lot more oil on those things than I thought there was sitting in my drain pan there. Anyways, so right after installing that filter, we went on a camping trip, and it was roughly 150 miles from home, and it did fine all the way there. I mean, we even stopped a couple times to, you know, eat, get fuel, whatever, and fired right back up, kept going like nothing ever happened. The following day at the campground, I go to start it up. I start it up, it runs for about 10 seconds and shuts off. I go to start it back up, and it wouldn't start up. It just cranks and cranks and cranks. My very first thought was that stupid fuel filter, because you guys seen the issues I had with it early on, and I suspected that was the problem. So I walked into town and we went to the nearest O'Reilly's, which actually nicely wasn't that far away. Got myself a new microguard fuel filter, got that installed, and long story short, that turned out to be the issue. That fixed the issue. So I had been hearing that there's been some counterfeit parts being sold on things like Amazon and whatnot. And I guess I'm thinking that maybe that's what I got here, was a stupid counterfeit part. So I guess buyer beware. If it don't look right, just send it back and get a different one somewhere else, or a different supplier, whatever. And you guys are probably going to say I should just went to the dealership, but I don't like spending extra money if I don't have to. Now, granted, in the long run, this cost me extra money, because I ended up spending another $60 at O'Reilly's for a new fuel filter, but whatever, lesson learned. But anyways, guys, this is where I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it entertaining. Maybe you learned something from it. Maybe you didn't. But if you did make it to the end here, I do appreciate you guys watching it to the end. It really helps out my channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe consider subscribing. I got a lot of other good videos, and there's only more to come. So I'd say until then, I'll catch you in the next one.